Hey guys, Ronnie back with another YouTube video. Hope you guys are having a blessed day and you guys are doing all right. So the movie selection for this week is The Mist. As you know, I didn't make a video last week, so kind of had to get back in gear and get some videos uploaded for you guys. Anyways, this movie was based off of a Stephen King novel, and this movie came out in 2007. Um, for the most part, I thought it was a pretty good movie. I liked it, and I don't know how many times I've watched it over the years, but it was definitely a good movie to see. So, without further ado, let's get into it. The movie starts off with a main character named David, who's a Hollywood artist. So he draws posters for movies, and then submits them, and then they use the pictures for their main movie posters. So, anyways, he is in the process of making some. He's made multiple posters or whatever during this time in the beginning of the movie, and there's a storm that comes into town. It's at nighttime, so there's a really bad thunderstorm. Well, it gets to the point where it gets so bad the power gets knocked out. So once the power gets knocked out, well, he can't see. So him and his family go downstairs to the basement and wait it out until the next day. Morning comes, and while they were downstairs, a tree actually came through his room where he does all of his drawing. So his some of his drawings pretty much ruined because the rain and the water and stuff got on him. So his wife asks him, if there's anything that's salvageable, and he tells her no because, he has a deadline, so he needs to go He needs to go into town and get some supplies. So his son is like super excited because he's never seen anything of that magnitude, I guess, as a storm or whatever. So he's trying to show his dad to come look at the boathouse. They have a boathouse, and the boathouse got collapsed and by their neighbor's tree that he had been asking the neighbor to cut down a long time ago. So, anyways, the tree got uprooted and landed on the boathouse, destroying the boathouse and the boat. So David decides to go over to the neighbor and let him know about it so they can exchange insurance information. Well, the neighbor is having troubles of his own, trying to cut a tree with a chainsaw, and it's not working. And they come to find out the neighbor actually had a tree fall on one of his some classic Mercedes-Benz car. So David and the neighbor have a mutual, talk, and they decide to go into town together. So it's David, the neighbor, and his son. Billy is the name of David's son. So they're driving to town, and it's like a local, I guess you would call it like a local, to me it's kind of like a local grocery store with everything in it. So you got your food, got your hardware stuff, pretty much anything you can think of that's in a local grocery store, it's there. So anyways, David has a list. He actually lets Billy go with the neighbor to go help find the supplies that they need, while the neighbor's getting what he needs as well. So while they're in the store, the sirens go off. Now, on their way into town, they were actually, talking about how bad the storm was. And as they're driving towards the store, there's you might as well call it like a caravan of military vehicles passing by them. And so the two men end up saying to each other, like, you hear what they do up on the mountain. So there's a mountain. By the way, the neighbor and David, they pretty much live on like lake property. But further off from the lake they got mountains. So the scenery is very beautiful. Well, when they had woke up the next day, at some point, there's mist coming down from the mountains, and which David's wife actually questioned him about it, and he said, "Oh, it's probably nothing. Probably happens. It probably won't even reach town," is what he says. So, anyways, back in the car, back at the store, everybody's doing their own shopping. You see some of the other local people coming in. Well, you see a group of military guys in there as well. And then an MP comes in and lets them know, like, hey, leave's been canceled. You know, we got to go back to the base. And so the guys tell them, like, well, wait, we got leave. You know, we're supposed to be getting up out of here in a little bit. And they said, sorry, all leaves have been canceled. I'm just giving orders. You know, I've got to go to the pharmacy. I'll meet you guys in a little bit. So the MP leaves. And so the 3 soldiers they're not happy about it because they were like, they was almost out of town. They was going to grab some snacks and get up out of there. Not happening. So everybody's doing their shopping, and then all of a sudden the sirens go off. Excuse me. They're like, pretty much call them like tornado sirens, emergency sirens. And so they're going off, and everybody's like wondering what's going on. So everybody was like looking out the front of the store. And you see the emergency response teams coming. So you see a fire truck, police cars, ambulance, and they're driving towards where the military was going. So as they're driving that way, you see a cloud start coming down and pretty much like getting ready, pretty much starting to slowly like cover the town. And when the vehicles go in, you don't even hear the sirens anymore. Like the sirens from the vehicles, they kind of just like stop. But like the mist, it just comes and it's just starting to descend very, very rapidly. Well, this guy comes running from the mist. He's got a bloody nose, some old guy running. He got a bloody nose, and he comes in and he's like, lock the doors, lock the doors. There's something in the mist. There's something in the mist. And some of the people in the store are like, what? You know, they're like panicking, like, what are you talking about? He's like, there's something in the mist. Something in the mist has got John Lee. Something in the mist. They got John Lee. I'm like, you never see who John Lee is, by the way. Spoiler alert. There will be spoilers. So if you haven't watched the movie, go watch it. Anyways, so he's like, don't go out there. You know, there's something in there, you know. So this guy, I don't know, some random dude, he's like, I'm getting out of here. He runs outside, gets to his car, drops his keys. He drops his keys, and then the mist covers the car, covers him, keeps coming towards the store, and then all of a sudden you hear this, ah, like he's yelling for help. Then all of a sudden you don't hear it anymore. And then everybody's like, oh, you know, so they close the door, and they're just standing there looking out the window, and then all of a sudden the mist comes all the way up to the front of the store, and it kind of like pounds on the glass and shakes the whole store. So, you know, there's a pause for a little while, and they're wondering like, what's going on? And, you know, they're like, what do we do? What do we do? And they're like, the old man, he's like, you don't want to go out there. You don't know what's out there. There's something out there. Don't go out there. So he's trying to warn folks not to do it. So David's son, Billy, he's probably, I don't know, maybe like 10. He's getting scared. He gets a little scared. So David picks him up and he's like telling him, it's okay, it's all right, don't worry about it. And he's like, we gotta go, Dad, we gotta go home, you know. And he's like, well, hold on, we just need to wait and see what happens. You know, we don't know what's out there or what's going on. So he's trying to calm him down as best as he can. So he asked one of the workers, his name Ollie, if they have like any pillows or anything. So he tells him where to go. He goes looking for some pillows and actually ends up winding up in the, I guess it would be like the kind of like the storage room in the back. And when he gets back there, he smells I guess it's like the motor for the shutter door for the back dock area. So he sees it smoking, so he shuts it off, and then so it doesn't overheat. So when he walks away from it, he hears like something pressing up against the shutter doors, and it's like pressing really hard. And so he goes back out into the main store, and he's like telling one of the workers and then a couple of locals, hey, there's something, you know, something in the dock area pressing against the door. He said I had to shut off the motor because it was overheating, so it wouldn't overheat. So anyway, they go out there to check, and so it's David, Ollie, the local bag boy, and then you got these two guys. I don't know. I don't think they were brothers, but they were close friends. And I, these two dudes, they're making fun of David because they're like, yeah, sure you did hear something. They don't believe him, think he's making it up just because he, works for Hollywood. And so the bag boy, he's like, well, hey, tell you what, he says, raise it up a little bit and I can see what's up, what's clogging it. And then, we'll just go ahead and fix it. And David's like, you don't know what's out there. You don't want to go out there. And the kid, I don't know how old this kid was, but he's some cocky teenager. Anyways, he's like, man, just shut the F up. I know what I'm doing. So the two local guys, I don't know. I want to call them hillbillies, but I don't think that's what they really were. But anyways, they said like, all right, we're going to go ahead and open the shutters. They open the shutters and you see the mist coming out from underneath it. And so, but he's like, I can't, he's looking, doesn't see anything. And he's like, well, I don't really see anything. And he stands up and turns around. He's like, see, there's nothing there. And let me tell you, as soon as he says that, these large tentacles come up from underneath the shutters and grab him and pull him down. And then all of a sudden, everybody starts panicking. And David's the only one that seems like jump into action. He's trying to pull the kid back. Well, some more tentacles come through. And this time they actually latch onto the kid and then rip a chunk of his flesh off. And he starts screaming like a little girl, which, hey, should have just listened and not even did it in the first place, but he did. So David's asking for help. The two local hillbillies are like, oh, no. He's freaking out. And so Ollie is the only one that he grabs an axe and he's like, hey, you should chop it or whatever. Tries to chop it, doesn't work. And then David's still trying to hold on to the kid. Then more tentacles come out and ultimately they end up having to let him go because the tentacles come out and it looks like they almost have teeth. And so they start searching for food, pretty much. Once they got the taste of little bag boy's blood, and then everybody else just backs away because they're starting to pull him under the shutters all the way. Ultimately, the kid dies, and then there's a big argument between David and the two guys that suggested for the kid to go check it out. Anyways, they go back out to the store floor. And David's talking to his neighbor, letting him hey, you gotta see this. Something happened because Ollie was actually able to chop off a piece of the tentacle. So a piece of tentacle was still actually left on the floor once they were able to close the shutters. So once he did that, he was able to pretty much get away. They were pretty much able to get away. So the neighbor's he don't believe him. He's like, BS, nice try. You're trying to just make a joke out of me. And they're like, no, really, you need to come see this. And so eventually they get him to go back there. He doesn't believe him. And so when they poke the tentacle, it pretty much just dissolves. So I don't know if it was because it was detached or whatever from whatever it was attached to. But it ultimately dissolved and just, pretty much just melted or whatever. So after that, the store owner, he says to everybody that's in the store, we actually might have a problem, because there apparently is something out there. And pretty much they have to figure out what to do next. So later on, after everybody's talking or whatever, the neighbor decides hey, you know what, we're getting out of here because we don't really think there's anything out there anyway. We need to find rescue. So that's his plan. And David's like, you can't go out there. You don't know what's out there. You might not make it. And he was like, look, man, he says, we're not staying in here. There's got to be help out there. We're going to go find it. If we find some help, we'll send it back to you. And so David's like, well, okay, well, you know, good luck. So first he had a plan. He actually was wanting them to like tie this rope around him to let him know he got like a certain distance. And the neighbor was like, yeah, right. So some other guy comes up, he was out of towner. He comes up, he says, I'll do it, because he was like, he saw somebody's pickup truck, and he's like, you know, let me get to the truck just to see if you know, if actually there is something out there. So his plan was to get to the truck, get back, maybe pick up some people or whatever. He ties the rope around his body, starts to walk outside. He gets to a certain point, and there's some people holding on to the rope. Bro, like, oh man, all right, he's doing good. He's doing real good. All of a sudden, the rope straightens, and it falls down, picks back up again, and just within like some seconds, the rope just starts getting pulled like real fast to the point like people are getting rope burns because it's getting pulled that hard with the velocity. And then it goes up, goes down, to the side, all over the place. And then it finally just drops. And everybody falls down. And so David, he keeps pulling, he starts pulling on the rope even more just to see what happened. Now at that point, I'm thinking to myself, like, well, obviously, the man can't fly. So if he's going all the way up in the air, why are you still even bother holding on to the rope? Anyways, he keeps pulling on the rope, pulling it close to the store. And what do you see? You only see one part of the man, and it's the lower half. His whole upper body is gone. The only thing that's tied to the rope is from the waist down. And everybody just in the store is like, oh my gosh, they all freak out. Ollie cuts the rope, and then they go ahead and lock the door. And so everybody's like, don't know what to do after that, because they still haven't seen anything yet, still haven't seen any creatures, but yet, you know, they know something's out there. So part 2 coming